Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And today's guest is going to be a real treat. She's a CEO, she's a yoga instructor, she's a personal trainer, a very experienced personal trainer. But most important of all, she's a mom, and she went through some serious postpartum issues, and the person that you can help is the person that you used to be. So she has taken that and turned it around, and now she's a coach who strives to give moms more good days. Let's meet her. So, Sarah Parise, thank you so much for joining us on Think Your Way to an Epic Life.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And I know there's probably parts of this that'll be a little bit vulnerable. However, why are you willing to be so vulnerable about this?
It took me a long time. It's not like all of a sudden I became a mom, went through my struggles, and I was like, the world needs to hear this. It took me years to get to a point to share my story because I realized the first time I shared it, the person I was talking to was also struggling, which I would have never guessed in a million years, much like people said about me. And it helped her get through her struggles. So from then on in, I was like, you know what? Someone out there needs to hear this. And it's not about me. It's about them.
Wow. Okay. That just opened Pandora's box because so often, I don't know if it's all people, but I do know that it's women. We have a tendency to put on the face that everything is fine and we can handle it. Whatever comes, we got it. We got it. We're not going to show anyone that we're struggling. What do you have to say about that now on the other side of this?
I mean, that was me my whole life, right? I struggled with anxiety and depression undiagnosed. But looking back, you're like, oh, wow, that's what that was. Kind of how I was masking the really being busy and having to be active all the time to kind of push down those real feelings of things. But now, after going through my whole battle with undiagnosed postpartum depression, anxiety, and then really rage, like mine didn't show itself through crying every day. My doctor went through like 6 questions at the 6-week mark and was like, oh, are you able to get out of bed in the morning? Are you upset all the time? And I was like, no, I'm really pissed. I'm really pissed that this is my life. And this seemed unfair that I lost every concept of like being a woman and being a confident 36-year-old and having this freedom of things. And I was angry. And I was like, this was a mistake. That's what my gut said. And this was about at the 3-month mark, right when all my friends that had babies were like hitting their stride. Nursing was going great. Their baby started sleeping. And I had none of those things. So I felt like a failure as a mother. And that was my only identity. So it became like this internal struggle of like, wow, I really suck at this. And this is the only thing I'm doing. And I'm really bad at it.
Okay. So there had to come a point when it came to a head.
It did. And it was a dark one. It was right about the 6-month mark. It was right after St. Patrick's Day. So I was living in Southern California at the time, and my daughter would only sleep if I was walking her around in the stroller. So it was very late at night, like 1 a.m. I was walking through Santa Monica Promenade after all the bars were letting out, and I was seeing all these people like laughing and having fun, and that was me in my prior life, going out and having fun and dancing and not having a care in the world because I didn't have any responsibility. And then I became a mom at 36. And like walking through those streets at night, my daughter was screaming. I was so depressed. I was like, I got home and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I literally like took her out of her carrier, left her with my husband, and I walked to the cliffs above the Santa Monica beach. And I just stood against the fence and I leaned against that fence with all my might. And in my mind, I was just like, just break. I can't do this anymore. I clearly am not cut out for this. This is not the life that I want. This is not the life my daughter deserves or my husband deserves. And I've never had those thoughts or that dark before of just like everyone else would be better if I was not in this situation. And, I started to think about my own mom and I was like, my mom wouldn't have felt like this. My mom, was a stay-at-home mom for 14 years. Like, she's way stronger than this. I'm 6 months in and I can't do this. But then I started to think about like, what if my mom did have these thoughts? And what if she did take her own life at when I was 6 months old and I'm the oldest. And that made me step back and that made me really shift my mindset to be like, I need to not only do this, like the reason is not for my daughter or my husband. The reason is for me. Like I need to do this because I can and I am strong and I can do hard things, but I need to do this for me, and I need to start taking care of my own self, not just the heavy overweight person that I was embarrassed by at that point, but like the inside, like the mental and emotional aspect of things that I needed to address. And so that day was like, this is my turning point. I cannot have this be my story. I cannot have this be my daughter's story for how she lost her mom. So I went to a yoga class the next morning, and we'll fast forward through that really pathetic yoga class because I had a broken tailbone and I couldn't lay on my back. So I laid on my side, and as soon as the class started, I just cried for really the first time since my daughter was born, like really cried. And for a whole hour, I watched these beautiful Southern California bodies move around me. And I was just like, what have I done? Like I've spent all this money on this class, and I'm laying there and I'm just like embarrassed. And I couldn't bring myself to do anything else. So at the end of class, someone wraps it up, and I had never met her. So she was probably thinking, oh my goodness, what is with this girl? Like on her mat, not moving. And at the end of class, she came up to me and she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, I know I don't know you and I don't know what this is about, but you showed up. Just keep showing up. And now she knows that she changed my life. But in the moment, a complete stranger just said, just keep showing up. And so I did. I mean, I signed up for a 10-pack of the yoga session. Here I am, a yoga teacher. And I'm like going to these like intro classes. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to show up and just do a little bit a day to show up for myself. And I turned it into a, not for anyone else. I'm doing this for me so I can give my best to everybody else.
So how important is that? You're coaching someone who can't. They just can't. They don't feel worthy. They have enough past trauma they haven't dealt with. Whatever the reason is, they can't do it for them. What do you say to them if they're watching this? Please, guys, if you're watching this and this is ringing a bell with you, reach out to either one of us on YouTube, put it in the comments, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you directly, either one of us. So what if they can't? And they're just like, what do you mean do it for me? I'm not worthy of doing anything. I'm terrible. I'm this awful person.
That's where a lot of us start. And so then I say, if you don't feel like you're worth it, is your child worth it? Is your partner worth it? Is your family worth it? Regardless if you have kids or not, just like, is there someone in your life that's worth being here for and being here for a long time in an awesome capacity for? And usually, I mean, every single time I've ever asked that question, someone, is like, yes, like it's usually moms. And it's like, yes, of course, my kids need me. Like they want, not only do they want me here, they need me here. They're young. I need to be here and I need to be the best version of myself that I can. Then I say, okay, let's start there. You get up tomorrow and you do it for them. And eventually you like how it feels and you're like, maybe, you know what? I am worth it. And I am worthy of this feeling. And I am worthy of having more great days. And eventually it shifts into that. But I'd say if you can't do it for yourself, because I've been there, I know that feeling, then you do it for someone else. And a lot of times it's your children.
Okay. All right. So step one. Somebody is watching this or a dear friend of theirs sent it to them because they love you so much. They wanted you to see this and they didn't know how to talk to you, but they sent it to you for that reason. And they're there and they're watching this and they don't have a clue what step one is. What yoga is going to fix it is in their head. I can assure you I'm a pro yoga, but somebody who's like their freaking life is falling apart and you're telling me you want me to go sit with my legs crossed and go home?
Exactly. No, if I say you do something, like I'm all about dropping that all or nothing. Like you don't want to pay $25 or $30 for a yoga class. Great. Don't. If yoga's not your thing, fine. You want to do a YouTube video of strength video on there? Great. Great Days by Sarah. I have all my workouts online. Check it out. But a lot of times that's even too much. So I say tomorrow morning, you lay out your clothes the night before, you put some comfortable clothes on. It doesn't need to be anything fancy or anything, workout related, just comfortable clothes. Put on your sneakers, go walk for 5 minutes. And you start there. And it's just a tiny bite-sized thing. It's like, oh, I don't have anywhere to walk. Great. Walk down your driveway and back. Like I don't have a neighborhood to walk in. Fantastic. Walk 5 minutes around your house. It's more than you did yesterday. And then that's all that little tiny snowball does is get bigger and bigger and bigger. But do something. Don't wait until Monday. Don't wait until New Year's. Don't wait tomorrow morning. Or if you're listening to this early in the day, today, to do something for yourself. And if movement is challenging for you, That's even a better reason to do it. And if you can't do 5 minutes, then stand up and sit down off the couch 5 times. Start small with whatever you do. And if you need ideas and you really don't know where to start, reach out. I offer a free 45-minute wellness consultation, and that's what I do with people. I have 3 slots a day available to just talk through where do I start. And that's what most of the conversations are about, because most people don't know where to start. They know they should eat better. They know they should move their bodies, but how? But how? And how is it appropriate for the individual? Because there's not a one size fits all.
Yes, and the thing that I want to, as a fellow coach, I want to applaud you on hugely is 5 minutes. That's the thing. It's baby steps. It's infinitesimal. It's Atomic Habits. Are you familiar with that book?
Very much so.
That's one of the best books ever written, guys. Read that book. I met a lady before I ever read that book. I met a lady, I'm in real estate, and she was buying a house, and I was just there with her. She was telling me the story of how she lost 80 pounds. And like within 9 months, I think it was 9 months, she lost 80 pounds. And she said, I was living in these crappy little apartments, and they had a crappy little closet of a workout room. All it had literally was a closet and a treadmill. And I made a deal with myself that I would walk in the door of it every day. That was her only deal. That was the only thing she promised. She said some days, isn't that beautiful? And some days she would go in and just sit down on it. And some days she would go in and she'd walk for 5 minutes. And some days she'd go for 30 minutes, right? But she lost 80 pounds by just making that one tiny, tiny little commitment. And it sounds like that's what you're asking your folks to do.
And that's all it's about. And my whole thing is like in less than 2% of the day, you can change your life. And a lot of coaches are like, 2% of the day is not enough. Like that's little less than 30 minutes. And I'm like, 110%. It doesn't even take 2% for a lot of people. Because look at that example you just gave. You make one decision and it can change your life. And that's what I think is so powerful about mindset and just taking imperfect action. Are you going to go out and run a 5K today? No, probably not. Just get up and do something today.
Preach it, guys. You have to be willing to suck at things to ever get good at them. And, so
you have to sometimes. Life can be like that sometimes, a lot of times.
You said embrace the suck. Yes. I mean, that's it. That is the answer. That's the key to success. And success is incredibly boring. It's, it's just doing the same boring thing that you should be doing over and over and over again. And then you get to the next level, and it's really incredible. Okay. So talk to me about the transition from I am seriously struggling with postpartum to I want to start. You told me that the first thing that you told a friend and that helped her, and you were surprised that she was going through it. How many women are wearing masks out there and they're going through some serious stuff and no one has a clue?
I mean, let's be honest, most of us, right? Because we save the worst part for significant others, for our families, for ourselves in the shower, that most of us have some sort of mask on of, you meet a new mom. How are things going? Great. They're doing awesome. Baby sleeping? No. How's nursing going? Terrible. And they do it all with a smile on their face. And I had my first daughter in Southern California, and that's what it felt like. I was in this mom's group, and I was showing up, and I after I made my commitment to show up, looking like a homeless person. I was barely in my pajamas. My hair was everywhere. I hadn't showered. I was a mess. And I'd show up, and these women were hair straightened, nails done, perfect outfits, lost all the baby weight immediately. And I was like, what's wrong with me kind of thing. But then a year goes by, and then I really hear what people were going through after I started my programming. And I was like, wow, you masked that well. I don't have the ability to hide my emotions like that, but a lot of women do. And that to me is that, because we could have been a cohesive group talking about our struggles instead of a competitive group of oh, did your baby roll over? Oh, did you start crawling? Oh, we're doing solids. All this, these things that I see commonly in mom groups. But when you find your tribe, when you find your people, it's amazing and it's freeing. And it's not just as a mom. I just think it's as a human in general. When you find people who really accept you, you're good, you're bad, and you're ugly, and you do the same for them, that's a really powerful relationship.
Oh, it is so powerful. And I know that a lot of people think that there's no tribe for you, that you are so unique and you're so alone, and that there really isn't. There's no one who would get you. That's so not true. everyone has someone. Go to YouTube and you will see some of the stuff where people have thousands, millions of followers and views of something that's like, why would that be interesting? But there's someone out there that finds what you're doing every day. If you're quilting or if you're driving a trash truck, that they find that incredibly interesting and they want to know more about it. And so please don't give up on finding your tribe. I love that.
And whether like COVID really put people like in the online space to try to find their tribe. I had both my kids before COVID, very luckily, because I had the lactation group at the hospital, like at UCLA, which was incredibly helpful and talked about all the struggles. I had trouble nursing, so I was part of a different support group. I kept kind of grasping at straws, all while nothing working. And finally, someone recommended pelvic floor therapy for my broken tailbone. And she became like my link to like all things possible of like, well, if you're in a group of people and it's not going well, find a new group of people. Like you don't need to stay. You don't need to embrace that kind of stuff. Like if you're not feeling supported, seek elsewhere. And maybe it's in person. Maybe it's through a hospital. Maybe it's through, some kind of counseling center. Maybe it's online. There's so many amazing, beautiful resources online now. I have a Facebook group called Time Out for Moms. It's exactly what it is. It's like a timeout for us. And it's wellness, accountability, and support. And people message me daily in there of things that they're struggling with. And I'm like, hey, I know 25 people who are also in your boat. Who would you like me to connect you with? Kind of thing. But finding people that are in your same stage of parenting or same stage of life, I think is so important because it just normalizes it. It's just, you don't have to say you're okay. When I ask people how they are, they know, people that know me, I really mean, how are you? Like, yeah, tell me how you really are. Not, fine, how are you?
Yeah, it's, the more real, the more conscious you become, the more of an impact you can make. And it matters greatly. And moms, I'm not one. I am a grandmom. I know that's kind of a unique thing. I've got 6 grandbabies, but I've never actually had a child of my own. So, through marriage, it's got to be the hardest, most instant gratification job out there. Long-term gratification for sure. Like, wow, oh my gosh, right? But instant gratification, I just scrubbed the floors and did the laundry and did all this, and I came out and the whole house is a complete wreck again, and you're complaining that it's a wreck? Like, it's tough. It's tough. So it's got to be good to be able to be in a safe place where it is safe to talk about what struggles that you're going through without throwing your family under the bus. It's not a complaint session about what your family's not doing. It's just a place to be safe to be able to talk about it, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Safe to be able to talk about it and to be able to talk about your partner or significant other, and then have a solution also, not just, hey, we're going to come and vent. Like, what is a conversation that I can have to shift things? Like, I work with a lot of moms that are like, well, my partner goes to the gym 5 mornings a week, so there's not time for me. I hear this all the time. And my gut is like, well, that's pretty unfair. Like, that's why does he get 5 mornings a week? If she get 5 mornings a week, but you don't get any mornings a week. Let's have the conversation. So we talk through like what a conversation looks like, not in a screaming match, not when you get to your breaking point of like, how unfair is this, but in a sit down, like this is what's important to me. I want to start also taking care of my body. What can we work out that it can be a little more active?
Yeah, let it be their idea. Go, coach, go. Right? Right, because if you just go tell them this is what I need, that's more of a challenge and it's more of a push. Whereas if you say, this is what I'm thinking, how can we make it work together?
Well, just having that compromise, like so many things in relationships and parenting and everything. Not everyone's on the same page 100% of the time. And it's never 50-50, like ever. It's never 50-50. It doesn't matter what kind of relationship you're in. It's not 50-50. So you have to figure out ways to, get your point across and set boundaries of what you're willing to do, because mom's giving everything and everyone else just taking doesn't feel fair either.
And it'll break mom and turn her into someone that can't give anything.
That's another question I pose a lot when I have these wellness consultations with people of like, when you're so unhappy and so there's just like, you're just kind of getting through the day, And I'm like, think about what kind of parent you are. Think about what kind of partner you are. Like, you don't want to be that type of partner or parent. Like, you want to be the rock star that you are. You want to be able to like give your best, but you can't give your best if you feel like if you're horrible and you're bottom of the barrel. You have to give something to yourself. And it's not selfish. It's essential. It's definitely not selfish.
Yeah, no. It's so not selfish. I heard Ed Milet on stage talking about one of his friends, and they were talking about abuse in someone else's family. And he looked at his friend, he looked her straight in the face, and he said, I see neglect in your family. And she's like, what are you talking about? He said, you tell your kids all the time that you can go for it and you can do anything, but you're not showing them. You're not doing it yourself. And it's, isn't it powerful? It's powerful because if you think, oh, I'm just this martyr and I'm going to, no, everyone feels your energy. I promise. Everyone feels
your energy. And then I have 2 young girls. I want my young girls to see me taking care of my body. I want my girls to see me setting a boundary of like, no, these are the nights that I work out. These are the mornings I get up and mom gets strong. I want them to see it because they're little sponges. They're going to do what they see me do, not what they hear me say.
Amen.
Not just wellness.
Well, sure. A lot more is caught than taught by far. So yeah, good job. And that I'm sure is also part of your driving force when you don't really feel like it, right? It's like, so what? They're watching.
Absolutely. And just like the body image side of things, like I grew up in the 80s. It was like the skinnier the better kind of mentality. And I don't want that for them. I want them to be like the stronger the better, the healthier the better. And that's what I'm hoping to lay them out as an example also. And that's most people come to me for weight loss. That's like what most moms it stems from weight loss. But one of my clients termed this a couple years ago and I loved it. She was like, after finished working with you, like weight loss was like a pleasant side effect of it. Like, yes, I fit into my jeans again, but my self-esteem and how I felt and the energy I feel was the gift. The weight loss was like, yeah, great. That's fantastic. But really just a side effect of it.
It is. And anytime you improve any area of your life, all of the areas improve. So even if you're not thinking about weight loss or being stronger or anything, you get going on this stuff and eventually that will be the next area that you tackle and you make that a habit. And it's so much, you are so much fun to talk to.
This is just my passion. I could talk about this all day of like, especially those one healthy choice that leads into like other healthy choices in your life, not just food, not just exercise, but in relationships and friendships and partnerships and all of it. It's all affected when you take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Okay. So what have I not asked you that I should have?
Ooh, I like the question, where do you start? Like where people should start. I have an awesome free resource that's How Busy Moms Prioritize Their Own Wellness. And it comes in the form of a bingo game. So it's a bingo board and it has all these different ideas of like things that you can do. And it's not just physical, it's the mental and emotional also. Mine has sat on my fridge for at least the last 8 or 9 months. My kids do it with me. We make dinner together most nights of the week and they're like, let's do bingo. And so they dry erase the bingo board and they mark things off. And it's just little ways to sneak in some wellness throughout your day. So even if you're not doing anything else, these little tips and tricks can make a big difference.
That is so cool. So can we add that to the link in the show notes?
Yep, I'll give you the link in the show notes to sign up for that.
All right, guys, please definitely check it out. Go play some bingo. And so I'm assuming you call I, and if you hit I, then you do whatever the I square says.
Oh, it's totally your choice. You go through the game. The game is to get bingo. So you want to focus on lower body today? Great. Here's a line for lower body. You want to focus on mindfulness today? You want to scatter it up and do a coverall like my children often want to do? It's your choice, but you do something. You take the first step.
Very cool. And ladies, if you are struggling, especially moms, if you're struggling, call her and do the free talk. Really, it is very powerful, and you'll find out whether or not you're a match for her and whether or not she's a match for you. And I can just from talking to you, guarantee you, she will tell you if she's not the match for you.
110%. I mean, I do it every day. I don't put people in programs that they're not a fit for. I have lots of resources. If you're looking for something different, maybe you need just some hormone balance help. Maybe you just need some therapy. I have a whole reference list of trusted people that I've worked with and my clients have worked with, so I can point you in the right direction.
Right on, right on. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.